When your silence speaks louder than words, you hold a power most people will never understand. In a world obsessed with noise, with constant opinions, updates, and chatter, the person who can remain quiet stands out like a flame in the dark. Silence is not emptiness, it is presence. When you walk into a room and don't feel the need to announce yourself, people notice. They feel something, even if they can't explain it. They sense you are not desperate for attention, and that alone makes them curious. They want to know who you are, what you're thinking, and why you don't seem to need the same validation they do. Your silence forces them to fill in the blanks, and often, what they imagine is more powerful than anything you could say. This kind of silence isn't weakness, it's control. When you choose not to speak, you choose to protect your energy. You're not reacting to every comment. You're not explaining yourself to people who aren't listening, and you're not wasting your words on situations that don't deserve them. You're choosing your moments, and that discipline is intimidating to those who live in constant reaction. Silence becomes your filter, keeping you from saying things you might regret, and more importantly, keeping others from thinking they can read you easily. Because when people can't figure you out, they project their own insecurities onto you. They might think you're judging them, dismissing them, or seeing through them, and that unsettles them. Most people talk to fill space. They feel uncomfortable in stillness, in pauses, in the absence of sound. You, on the other hand, are comfortable in that space. You don't feel the need to make others feel at ease by performing or over-explaining. That kind of self-control is rare, and rare things often provoke fear or respect. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back the other person's discomfort, insecurity, or doubt. Without realizing it, your quiet nature forces people to confront parts of themselves they'd rather avoid. That's why your silence feels heavy. It carries the weight of truth without you having to speak it. Silence also keeps your power from being diluted. Words once spoken can be twisted, misunderstood, or used against you. But when you hold back, when you choose to listen instead of respond, you maintain control of the narrative. People can't fight a battle when you refuse to step into the ring. They can't pull you into drama when you give them nothing to grab onto. This makes you harder to manipulate, harder to provoke, and harder to read. And people who thrive on control find that deeply frustrating. They can't get a reaction from you, so they start to feel powerless in your presence. But silence is not just about withholding words, it's about amplifying observation. When you're not speaking, you're watching. You're noticing details others miss. The flicker of doubt in someone's eyes, the tension in their jaw, the way their tone shifts when they're lying. You collect information while they're busy trying to impress you. That awareness gives you an edge, and people can feel it even if they can't pinpoint why. They sense you're not just present. You're assessing, calculating, and understanding more than you reveal. That can be unnerving for anyone who hides behind a facade. It's important to understand that your silence will often be misunderstood. Some will see it as arrogance, others as disinterest, and some as a challenge. That's fine. Let them think what they want. The people who respect silence will recognize it for what it is: strength. They'll know you're not silent because you have nothing to say, but because you value your voice too much to waste it. They'll see that your quiet confidence comes from knowing you don't need to prove yourself with constant noise. Your silence is also a boundary. It says, I am not here to entertain you. I am not here to make you comfortable at my own expense. I am not here to give you access you haven't earned. It is a way of protecting your energy from people who drain it, your peace from people who disrupt it, and your focus from people who try to scatter it. And the truth is, some people will hate you for that. They'll hate that you don't give them the reactions they crave. They'll hate that you can't be baited into a meaningless argument. They'll hate that you hold your ground without raising your voice. Silence also forces the world to adjust to your pace. When everyone else is rushing to respond, to defend themselves, to fill every gap in conversation, your stillness slows the moment down. People lean in, they wait, they watch, because they don't know what's coming next. That anticipation is power. It creates tension, and in that tension, you remain in control. So when you notice people becoming uneasy around you without you saying a word, understand this: you're not doing anything wrong. You're just not playing their game. You're not giving them the easy comfort of predictability. You're holding your own space, and that's something most people can't handle. They mistake your quiet strength for judgment, your composure for superiority, and your focus for distance. That's fine. The ones who can't handle your silence are often the ones who benefit from chaos. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the height of it. It's knowing you don't have to prove anything. It's the discipline to let your actions speak louder than your explanations. It's the confidence to know that your value isn't in how much noise you can make, but in how much control you can keep. And when you carry that kind of silence with you, it doesn't just walk into a room. It takes the room over without asking for permission. When you carry yourself with unshakable confidence, you'll notice something powerful. People sense it before you speak. Confidence has a presence. It walks into a room before you do. It's not about arrogance, it's about certainty. It's the way you move, the way you make eye contact, the way your silence says more than words ever could. And when people can feel your self-assurance without you announcing it, it can make some of them uncomfortable. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because they see in you something they wish they had. Your composure reminds them of their own insecurities. Your discipline highlights their lack of control. Your ability to stand tall, even in the face of challenge, forces them to confront where they've been shrinking in their own lives. This is why you have to understand that sometimes intimidation is not about you being threatening, it's about others being unsettled by their own reflection in your strength. And the truth is, real power doesn't scream. It whispers. It's calm. It doesn't need to prove itself. It simply exists, and in its existence, it commands respect. When you operate from this place, you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. You don't need to over-justify your choices or soften your energy to make others comfortable. People will try to test you. They'll try to poke holes in your confidence because they want to see if it's real. But you don't respond with emotional outbursts. You let your actions speak. You continue showing up as you are, unbothered and consistent. That consistency is intimidating in itself because most people live in a state of constant doubt and chaos. You, on the other hand, move like you know exactly who you are. You're not looking for approval. You're not seeking validation, and that is unsettling for those who rely on external affirmation to feel secure. It's almost like holding a mirror up to someone. They either admire the reflection or they despise it because it forces them to see the truth. The way you stand in your own light can inspire some, but it will also expose others, and that's when the intimidation kicks in. Confidence without words is built from within. It's the product of discipline, self-respect, and the willingness to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your values. It's the way you enter a situation without rushing to fill the silence because you're not afraid of it. You understand that stillness is a form of power. People expect you to fidget, to break eye contact, to over-explain. But you don't. You let the space be what it is. And that makes people realize they're not in control of the moment. You are. This doesn't mean you manipulate or dominate others. It means you're rooted so deeply in who you are that nothing external can shake you. And when people see someone who can't be easily swayed, it unsettles them because it's rare. Most people are reactive. You are intentional. Most people speak to prove they belong. You speak when you have something worth saying. Understand this. Your very presence can shift a room, and that is why it's so important to carry it with awareness. The goal is not to shrink so people won't feel uncomfortable, nor is it to amplify yourself just to prove a point. The goal is to stay authentic. Your quiet confidence will be too much for some, and that's okay. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to live in alignment with your truth. And when you do that, the right people will be drawn to you. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because your energy speaks a language they understand. This is how you intimidate without saying a word. It's not about being threatening. It's about embodying a level of self-respect and self-mastery that others can't ignore, even if they never fully understand it. When you walk into a room and people instantly adjust their tone, straighten their posture, or avoid direct eye contact, that's not an accident. That's presence. And presence is not about speaking the loudest or demanding attention. It's about the unshakable confidence that radiates from within, even when you're silent. Intimidation without words doesn't come from arrogance, it comes from self-mastery. It's in the way you hold yourself, in the way you don't seek approval, in the way you remain calm under pressure while everyone else is scrambling. You become a mirror for other people's insecurities, and they feel it without you having to say a single thing. The moment you stop needing validation from others, your energy changes. You stand taller, your movements are intentional, and you no longer fidget to fill silence. You let your presence do the speaking, and that unsettles people who rely on external power to feel significant. You also intimidate when you've developed discipline. Real, visible discipline. It's in the way you take care of your body, in the choices you make, in the boundaries you enforce. People notice when you're not swayed by cheap distractions or influenced by peer pressure. They notice that you're not easily provoked, and that makes them uneasy because they can't manipulate you. They can't predict you. They can't find a weakness to exploit. This is especially threatening to those who operate on control, because they realize they can't pull you into their emotional chaos. Your silence becomes a shield, and your composure becomes a weapon. You intimidate simply because you refuse to play their game. There's also power in emotional restraint. While many people react instantly out of anger, fear, or ego, you have trained yourself to pause, to observe, to calculate. You're not cold, you're controlled. And control is intimidating because it shows strength that cannot be faked. People often try to provoke you just to see if they can break that composure. But when you respond with nothing but steady calm, it sends a louder message than any argument could. They realize they can't pull you into a shouting match, can't make you lose your focus, and that frustrates them. Your ability to remain collected tells them you operate on a different level, one they can't reach. Another layer to this is self-sufficiency. When you don't need anyone to validate you, fund you, or guide you, it sends a clear message. You can walk away from anyone at any time, and that's powerful. People can sense when they don't have a hold on you. You're not dependent on their approval, their network, or their resources. This independence is threatening to those who rely on others for leverage because they have nothing to offer you that you can't find yourself. Your freedom makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability makes people nervous. Then there's the way you handle confrontation, not with aggression, but with clarity. You speak when necessary, and when you do, your words are measured, precise, and intentional. People who thrive on emotional chaos hate this because they want to pull you into a reactive state. But instead, you maintain eye contact, you stand your ground, and you speak only when you have something worth saying. That level of self-control makes people second-guess themselves. They realize they can't overpower you verbally, and they can't shake you mentally. And so, they feel the weight of your presence without you having to prove anything. Finally, true intimidation without words is rooted in authenticity. You are unapologetically yourself. You don't bend to fit into rooms. You don't water yourself down to make others comfortable. And you don't hide your standards to gain acceptance. People sense when you know exactly who you are, and for those who are still lost in their own identity, it's unsettling. You become a reminder of what they're not: confident, clear, and self-assured. And that discomfort often comes out as intimidation. But you don't need to change that, because at the end of the day, your goal isn't to be liked. It's to live aligned with who you are. And if that intimidates some people without you saying a single word, that's their reflection, not yours. When you walk into a room, your presence alone can make others shift in their seats, adjust their tone, or suddenly become more aware of themselves. This isn't about arrogance. It's about carrying yourself in a way that demands respect without ever asking for it. The intimidation doesn't come from loud words or aggressive gestures. It comes from the quiet confidence that radiates from someone who knows exactly who they are and refuses to shrink for anyone. People can feel when you have a strong sense of self, and it makes them question their own. That questioning often turns into discomfort, and instead of looking inward, they project that discomfort onto you. They may label you as too much, intense, or unapproachable, when in reality you're simply not bending to their unspoken expectations. The truth is, most people are used to others seeking approval, validation, and acceptance. But when you stand in your own truth without seeking any of those things, you disrupt the script they're familiar with. Your refusal to conform silently challenges them to examine their own insecurities. And here's the thing, many don't want to. So instead, they create distance. They avoid direct eye contact. They soften their voice when speaking to you, or in some cases, try to undermine you with subtle digs. This isn't because you've done anything wrong. It's because your energy is a mirror they're not ready to face. People can sense when you won't be manipulated or swayed. And for some, that's terrifying. Your body language also plays a huge role. You don't slouch or fidget because you're not looking for permission to be there. You already own your space. You look people directly in the eye when they speak, and you're comfortable with silence in conversations. That silence can be unnerving for those who fill every pause with nervous chatter. You don't rush to fill the air because you're not afraid of the weight your presence brings. When you walk, you do so with purpose. When you speak, you do so with intention. People pick up on this, even subconsciously, and it makes them tread carefully around you. They can sense you're not someone to be taken lightly. Another part of this intimidation is emotional control. You don't overreact. You don't give them the emotional responses they might be fishing for. When someone tries to provoke you, they're met with calm, steady energy instead of anger or defensiveness. This disarms them because they can't manipulate your mood. And in a world where so many thrive on emotional volatility, your ability to remain grounded is power. That power is often misunderstood. Some will mistake it for coldness, when in reality, it's discipline. You choose when and how to engage, and that choice itself makes people realize they're not in control of the interaction. People also notice the boundaries you enforce. You don't overextend yourself to be liked. You're selective about who gets your time, attention, and trust. This selectiveness is rare, and it forces people to work harder to earn their place in your life. That effort can be intimidating because it breaks the expectation that you'll be available simply because they want you to be. You've made it clear, through your actions, not just your words, that you value yourself enough not to settle for shallow connections. And when people see that you're willing to walk away, rather than compromise your standards, it makes them rethink how they interact with you. This, again, creates that aura of quiet power that can't be faked. At the core of all of this is the fact that you move through the world without needing to prove anything. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not seeking applause. You're not adjusting yourself to be more palatable. That authenticity is magnetic to some and deeply unsettling to others. It's unsettling because it exposes the masks they wear. It's intimidating because it shows what's possible when you stop living for the approval of others. And while some will admire you for it, others will feel threatened because your freedom reminds them of their own self-imposed limitations. When you carry yourself this way, understand that the intimidation you cause is often a reflection of the other person's internal battle, not a flaw in you. Your presence challenges them, your confidence unsettles them, and your boundaries protect you from the chaos they may bring. And if that makes them uncomfortable, so be it. You're not here to make others feel safe in their smallness. You're here to live fully in your truth. And if that truth is intimidating, it's because it's powerful beyond measure. When you carry yourself with confidence, it sends a silent but powerful message to the world that you are not easily moved, swayed, or manipulated, and that presence can be intimidating to those who are used to people shrinking themselves to make others comfortable the way you stand, the way you walk, the way you make eye contact without flinching. It's all a declaration that you respect yourself and expect the same from others. People can feel this without you saying a single word, and those who lack that self-respect or feel insecure in themselves will sense it like a spotlight on their own weaknesses. Some might misinterpret your self-assurance as arrogance. Not because you think you're better than them, but because they feel smaller in your presence without you even trying. This is why you must understand that your confidence isn't something to tone down just to make others feel better. You have to own it fully, unapologetically, because it's what keeps you rooted in who you are. And it also silently filters who can stand next to you. Not everyone will be able to, and that's okay. Confidence is more than posture and tone. It's a deep internal knowing of your worth, your abilities, and your boundaries. When you truly believe in yourself, it radiates outward in every interaction, and even when you're silent, people pick up on it. They notice that you don't chase validation, you don't fidget to fill empty space, and you don't rush to please anyone. This can make them uncomfortable because they're used to people proving themselves, while you simply exist in your truth. The energy you carry sets the standard without you saying a word. That's why in any room you walk into, eyes may turn, not because you're loud or flashy, But because your presence demands acknowledgement, the quiet kind of confidence is the most powerful. It's not about announcing your achievements or dominating conversations. It's about walking into a space and being so grounded that others feel the shift in energy when you arrive. And here's the truth. Not everyone will like that. Some will see it as a challenge. Others will see it as a threat, and a few will feel inspired, but it's not your job to manage how people react to your confidence. Your job is to maintain it regardless of the environment or the opinions around you. It's about choosing not to shrink, even when someone's insecurity tries to dim your light. It's about realizing that their discomfort is not your responsibility. You can't apologize for being strong, and you can't soften your presence just to make effervescent egos feel safe. Because when you do, you lose yourself, and when you lose yourself, you've already surrendered the very thing that made you powerful in the first place. So you keep your head high, your shoulders back, your steps steady, you speak when necessary, and you let your silence speak when it's more powerful than words. People who understand strength will respect it. Those who don't were never meant to walk alongside you anyway. The ones who stay will be the ones who can stand in their own power, and together you'll create an environment where strength isn't something to fear, but something to value. The rest will fall away on their own, intimidated not by who you are, but by the fact that you refuse to be less than yourself in a world that often demands it. There is a kind of discipline that goes beyond just what you do. It's in how you carry yourself, how you respond, how you choose your battles, and how you decide what deserves your energy and what doesn't. When you master that, you operate from a place of control rather than reaction. And that changes everything. Most people live in reaction mode, constantly pulled into every emotion, every conflict, every distraction that comes their way. They get hooked into arguments they didn't need to have. They waste time on people they didn't need to entertain. And they let their peace be dictated by forces outside themselves. Discipline means you don't take every bait thrown at you, even when it's tempting to defend yourself or prove your point. It means you understand that silence can be a weapon sharper than any words, because it denies people the attention they were trying to provoke from you. And when you refuse to give them that, you keep your power. Discipline is also in the choices you make daily. The decision to keep working on your goals when no one's watching, to get up and move when you'd rather stay still, to train your mind to focus on solutions instead of spiraling into problems. It's about living intentionally instead of drifting wherever the current takes you. It's not glamorous most of the time. It's quiet, repetitive, and often unnoticed by others, but the results are undeniable. Over time, you become the kind of person whose life is not dictated by moods or circumstances. You move with purpose, not impulse. You stop oversharing because you understand that not every thought needs to be voiced and not every feeling needs to be validated by others. You conserve your energy for what truly matters, and that alone makes you stand out in a world addicted to noise and constant reaction. There will be moments when people misread your discipline as coldness or indifference, but that's because they don't understand the cost of peace or the value of focus. They've built their identities on being everywhere, saying everything, engaging in every drama. So when you don't play that game, they don't know how to categorize you. Some will try to provoke you into breaking your discipline, just to prove you're not as strong as you seem. And in those moments, you'll feel the pull to respond, to explain, to justify, but you'll also know that the moment you do, you've given them exactly what they wanted. So you learn to sit with that discomfort. You train yourself to let the urge pass. You remind yourself that not every battle is worth fighting and not every voice deserves an answer. And in that restraint, you grow stronger, because true discipline is not just about doing the right things. It's about not doing the wrong things. Even when every part of you wants to give in, you stop seeing discipline as something restrictive and start seeing it as freedom. Because when you're disciplined, you're not a slave to your impulses, your emotions, or the chaos around you. You move on your terms. And when you live that way long enough, you stop chasing peace because you realize you've built it inside yourself. Nothing and no one can take it from you unless you hand it over. And that's when you understand discipline isn't about perfection. It's about self-respect. It's the decision to protect your time, your mind, and your energy, so that when the world tries to pull you in 1,000 directions, you can stand firm in who you are and where you're going.